Hello everyone, this is Annalise back with some more tips on how to excel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the count function and some of its most commonly used variations. So to get started, I've created a pretty simple worksheet here. I just have the numbers 1, 2, 3, a blank cell, A, B, C. So we have a total of 7 cells in this range that we're going to be playing with in a second. And I wanted to look at 3 different kind of count functions. There's count, counta, and Countblank. At home, if you start typing in equals count, you should get a full list of different count functions, as well as if you kind of mouse your way through the list or click your way through, you'll see that there's some nice helpful tool text or tool tips off to the right that tells you what each formula does or what each function does in case you forget. Now, we're only really going to look at the top 5. The bottom 3, CubeSet, decount, and decounta, aren't things that you typically use on a normal day-to-day basis. Alright, so to get started, count looks at the numeric cells in a range. So we have a range of 7, and then we have only 3 numbers, right? 1, 2, 3. So if we count through this range, we should only get 3 numbers, which is correct. And then counta looks at anything that's not blank. So notice again, we do have this blank cell here, but we should have 6 that are returned. So if we counta for non-blank cells, which includes text and numbers, we get 6. One important thing to note is if there's a space here, even though it looks empty, it's still going to get counted as a non-empty cell. So sometimes that can throw you off. It's a quick tip, something to catch. And Countblank is the exact opposite of counta, and it just counts the blank cells. So in our range, that's only going to yield 1. So these 3 are really simple, but they're great to know and they're quick to use. The other 2 are Countif and Countifs, and there's a couple of different ways you can use them, but basically it's saying you're only going to count if it meets a condition. So I have a table here, and this first example is if the region is east. So notice I say the first you have to specify the array or the data region you're going to be pulling from. So we're saying column B here, region. And then east is the condition or the criteria. So it's not going to count anything that's central or west. Oops, my bad, sorry. I forgot to, this is actually table 1. Alright, so I'm just going to copy this down for a second. Notice it's still saying east because that's a direct string. So now we're going to have to go in here, edit this, and change it to west. And notice that updates. And we can do the same for central. Alright, so that works, but a better way to do it might be using a cell reference. So you could say again, table 1, region. Except this time, instead of typing out east, if we point to cell L2 here, which says east, it's going to return the same thing. And now the nice thing is that if we pull this down, because it was pointing to L, and now because it's a relative cell reference, it's going to point to L3, L4, it's now looking at west, central. So we're getting the same exact numbers, but it's easier. You don't have to do as much manual editing. Countifs works much the same way, except now you get multiple criterion. So this is criteria range 1 and then criteria 1. So we already know how to do Countif east, right? So we're going to just repeat that from above. Table 1, region, and we're going to say east. And for now, I'm just going to use an indirect or the cell reference here. And range 2 is if the total is over 200. So instead of pointing to region this time, we're going to point towards total. And we're going to say greater than 200. Notice that you still have to put the greater than sign inside the quotes. So now we have 9. I'm just going to pull this down to get us set up for the next ones. Notice again it's pointing towards L3, it's already pointing towards west, which is what we want. Except instead of pointing towards total, we now want to look at units, right? Because we're trying to find out if units is over 50. And then we're just going to edit this to be 50 instead of 200. And this one's actually really simple to check. So if we just go to region, we just select west. Notice we have 1 that's over 50, 2, 3. So that's a pretty easy thing to check with our table here using the filtering tools. And our last one is, again, very similar. You should be getting the hang of this by now. Still looking at table 1, looking at order date, and we're looking if it's greater than 1,120. Now, if we wanted to grab the stuff from 19, we could even just say less than 1,120. And notice we get those numbers. So this is a quick and dirty overview of count. So we have the simpler ones, which don't take criteria, they just look straight at the range, and then we have Countif and Countifs, which take either one or multiple criterion. Alright, I hope this helps. Thanks for watching this video, and stick around for more to come. Thank you.